Hi, everyone. I just started the live stream on YouTube just to test it. So if you could just stay muted, we'll get started in just a minute. Thank you.
Why can't I hear?
Ben, did you get my email or the text? You're muted.
Yeah, I got it. Thanks, Fred.
We're recording.
Yeah, we are live on YouTube. If we could just stay muted, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here. It's great to see all your smiling faces here with us tonight for the June 1st City Council meeting 2021. If I could ask everyone, we're going to call the meeting to order. If I could ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And I'd like to ask Mr. St. Hilaire if he would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Your Honor. I pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag
of the United
of
States,
the United States of America and
to the republic
And the
for
republic
which it stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with liberty,
justice for all.
for all.
Thank you, Mr. St. Hilaire. If you could stay standing, Mr. Palma, would you please lead us in prayer?
Yeah, sure. Let's all pray this evening. Heavenly Father, today we thank you for all of your wonders, all of your blessings. Thank you for allowing us to meet once again. Give us the understanding and the wisdom. God, you know we want to do the best for this wonderful city. Let your will guide our minds and our hearts so we all do the best in this city and to glorify your name in every area that you allow us to work on this wonderful city. Father, today we also pray for all the wonderful moms, all the dads. We ask you to bless them, to give them the patience, to supply their needs, the wisdom, so they can guide their children for the right path. Father, we thank you for allowing us to start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel after what happened with this virus. And we know this brought a lot of sadness in a lot of families. But today, Father, we thank you for allowing us to be alive and we can breathe and we can see each other. Father, we ask you to bless everyone here tonight. Bless our mayor, all of our police officers, all of firefighters, and all of the first responders. Father, we thank you because we know we're not alone and you walking by our side. And we know with you, all things are possible. That's why we thank you with all of our hearts. And let us keep doing your will and bless everyone here today. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, Mr. Palma. Appreciate those nice words.
Amen. It's a
Can
pleasure.
I ask the clerk if she would please call the roll?
Alves,
Present. Hello.
Alves,
Present. Hello.
okay.
Yeah, we can see you. Just keep yourself muted for a second.
Bezaid. Bezaid,
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, he's here.
Mike has,
Hello.
he's here. Mike Esposito,
I can
Present.
see them. I don't think they can see or hear me.
Mike Esposito.
Mike is
For the
here.
second time, present.
Okay, Levy,
Present.
Salvatore,
Here.
Stanley,
Here.
Tabersack,
Here.
Fox,
Present.
Triola,
Here.
Henry,
Present.
DiGiulio,
Here.
Fratello,
Here.
Visconti,
Here.
Palma,
Present.
Knapp,
Here.
John Esposito.
Here.
There. Santos,
Present.
Perkins,
Present.
Genesi,
Present.
there. Camissa,
Here.
Molinaro.
Here.
I believe it's 21 present. Can't hear me.
You're on mute, Mayor.
Mr. Bezat, I'm sorry, we can hear you. Your video is off, but your microphone is on. So if you can mute yourself until you want to speak, that would be a big help. There we go. Okay. I think we have public comment from one resident, 2 comments. City Council agenda availability. There is no technical reason why the City Council meeting agendas cannot be posted on the city website at the same time the agendas are distributed to the members of the City Council. If the council is committed to open and transparent city government, a question that should be posed this fall to every candidate, the public deserves to have more than the minimum 24 hours required or minimum required 24 hours to learn of a city agenda. And then item number 13, the traffic safety return on the $50,000 grant could be enhanced by the use of available technology to identify and target for enforcement those roadways where speeding is most frequently and most flagrant. The DPD has portable speed monitor devices that can be secured in a specific location to record the speed of each passing vehicle, along with a timestamp. Data from the monitoring device can then be analyzed to identify if speeding is a problem and if the problem is especially severe during a specific time period. A DPD officer could then be assigned to observe and ticket violations during that period. Excessive speeding on East Haystown Road leading to and from Candlewood Town Park is a problem. Employment of a portable speed monitor device on East Haystown Road would allow efficient targeted enforcement during the grant period, greatly improving safety this summer where many pedestrians are walking to and from Candlewood Lake Town Park on East Haystown Road where there are no sidewalks. That's submitted by Tom Brown, 10 Valerie Lane, Danbury, Connecticut. And so that's all I have under public comment tonight on our agenda. Mr. President, the minutes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to waive the reading of the minutes as everyone has copies and a copy's on file with the legislative assistant.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Perkins. Under discussion of the minutes, any corrections, omissions have to be made? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as presented signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, minutes carry, pass unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Majority Leader, the consent calendar, please.
Mayor. Item 2, receive the communication and confirm the reappointment of Domenico Chafalo and Raymond Yaman in the City Danbury Housing Authority for a term ending December 31st, 2022 and December 31st, 2023, respectively. Item 5, receive a communication and approve an annual suspense list in the amount of $279,508.76 as presented by the tax collector. Item 8, receive a communication and adopt a resolution authorizing Mayor Joseph M. Cavo to execute the project authorization letter and other related documents pertaining to the White Street Corridor Safety Traffic Flow Improvement Projects when said documents are submitted to the city by the State Department of Transportation, and that the city, through the Office of the Corporation Counsel, is authorized to acquire the property interest set forth in the attached description of property rights to be acquired in accordance with procedures established by the state law, either by negotiation or eminent domain through the institution of a suit against the interested parties, the property owners and holders of mortgages encumbrance the property, if any, by January 1st, 2022. Item 13, receive a communication and adopt a resolution authorizing Mayor Joseph M. Cavo or Chief Patrick Rittenhauer as his designee to accept funding from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Officer through its 2021 Speed, Aggressive Driving and Enforcement Program. That's this funding not to be exceeded $50,000 will be used in Danbury Police Department in continued efforts of speeding and aggressive driving enforcement activities during the period of July 1st, 2021 through September 6th, 2021. No local match is required. Item 14, receive a communication and adopt a resolution authorizing Mayor Joseph M. Cavo and Kate Pearson, the Library Director, as his designee to apply for and accept funding for the Connecticut State Library through the Institute of Museum and Library Services and the American Rescue Plan Act associated with the CARE Act of 2020. This funding, not to exceed $3,000, will be used towards the purchase of a new library furniture that is movable and easy to clean. This funding must be expended by September 30th, 2022, and there is no local match required. Item 15, receive a communication and adopt a resolution authorizing Mayor Joseph M. Cavo and Gregory Winnick, Coordinator of Cultural Commission, as his designee to accept funding from the Make Music Alliance in an amount not to exceed $750. Such funds to be used for an annual international musical festival held on June 21st. There is no city match required. Your Honor, that is the consent calendar for June 1st, 2021.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Levy. I appreciate that. Mr. Rotella, I heard you. I don't see you.
Oh, okay, well.
There you are. Okay, you're back on my screen now.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Councilman Levy was reading, but the item number 8 in my packet was substantially different from the item that he read. Mine was a lot smaller. His had a lot more information, so I'm not quite sure if he's reading the one that we originally got last year, or if he was reading the one that was dated May 17th, 2021. I just wanted to get clear on that.
Okay, give me 1 second.
I mean, for instance, the last sentence in the first paragraph, we will need the additional time to finish the process of negotiation and or acquisition by condemnation of this property. At that point, there were a couple of more sentences that Councilman Levy read that are not in my packet, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here.
All right, hang on. We'll ask Mr. Pinter to just weigh in on that. He's just looking over the document right now. Pinter, you have an opinion on that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
Maybe turn your microphone.
I did.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The microphone is on. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so this item 8, as presented to the City Council in the package, has a resolution which is required to be adopted every 6 months if the acquisition of property or the negotiation toward or acquisition or condemnation is not satisfactorily completed, to seek renewed approval from the legislative body in order to do that. So the package has that resolution. The resolution is basically a duplication of the resolution that the council already approved in December of 2020, about 6 months ago. It has the definitions of the properties to be acquired. There are approximately 5 parcels, and they're also attached as descriptions to the resolution. You'll see there. As far as item 8 on the consent calendar, yeah, there's probably a substantial amount of information in there, which is absolutely correct in terms of, you know, what project is being worked on and the request to continue to get the authority to continue our negotiations. So it's largely correct. The date of January 1, 2022, you know, I think that's in compliance with the resolution itself as well. So I think it's okay if you receive the consent calendar with number 8 as indicated, so long as the resolution itself is adopted as presented.
Okay, I mean, you know, as I said, it wasn't that
Okay,
much different
Thank you,
than
Mr.
what was in our
Cooper.
packet.
Mr.
but it
Artelli, you
was
okay with that?
Quite a bit expanded. I am, Your Honor. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Your Honor,
Yes, Mr. Genies.
thank you. I'd like to, since we're still on the consent calendar, I'd like to remove item number 13.
Okay, so moved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, when you click the link.
All right. So, let's see, we're gonna go to item number 1. Oh, wait a minute, we have to vote on the consent calendar. With the removal of item number 13, is someone want to make a motion to accept the consent calendar with the removal?
Your Honor,
Yeah,
Your Honor, I move adoption of the consent calendar with the exception of item number 13.
Second.
Motion made and seconded by Mr. Tabersack. Under discussion of the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'll try your mind. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yep. Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Jeannie, have problems? Okay, we're gonna go to item number 1. Our clerk, I think, just had a connectivity issue. I'm hoping that she's back on. Ms. Natalie, are you back on with us?
I'm letting him. I think he got back on.
Just give us one technical minute here.
Okay, I think. You want to ask if it's on? I see.
Ms. Natalie, are you back on?
All right, go ahead. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, I think there was a phone number in here. I'm just
I
gonna.
was like Woodstock.
Did she leave?
Okay, Jean, are you there?
Jean, if you want to unmute yourself and then hang up the phone call, that should work.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, there you
Dear
go.
council members, I hereby submit for your confirmation the appointment of Chief Richard E. Thode to the position of Fire Chief. Chief Thode currently serves as Fire Chief of the City of Bridgeport. He began his firefighter career in Richfield and later transferred to Bridgeport. He moved up the ranks with several promotions and achieved the title of Fire Chief in 2016, a position from which he is retiring. Chief Thode has received countless awards and citations for his exceptional service, including his city's highest award for bravery, the Gold Star Award, for his solo rescue of an elderly woman from a house fire during a blizzard. In 2018, Chief Thode was also honored with the prestigious Ellen J. Brunacini Fire Service Executive Health and Safety Award for his commitment to the firefighter health and safety. In addition, he was named Firefighter of the Year in 2009. Chief Thode is a member of several international, state, and regional boards of committees. Locally, he volunteers for the Bethel Emergency Medical Service Advisory and the Fire Apparatus Replacement Committee. He also serves as the adjunct instructor of the county's fire school. Therefore, I am honored to submit Chief Richard Thode's name to you for confirmation of his appointment to the position of fire chief. Thank you for your consideration. Joseph M. Cavo, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, counsel?
Your Honor,
Mr. Mike Esposito.
thank you, Your Honor. I would like to make a motion to receive the correspondence and confirm the appointment of Mr. Richard E. Toad to the position of Chief of the Danbury Fire Department.
Second.
Motion's been made and I think seconded by Mrs. Stanley. It's really hard to say. There was a lot of seconds right there. So I'll give it to Mrs. Stanley for the record. Okay, what's your pleasure, counsel, under discussion? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Congratulations, Chief Thode. I know you're on here at the meeting with us. Would you like to say a few words? I know this was a pretty extensive search. We had applicants from halfway across the country, and when I went in to meet with the assessment center folks, they 3 chiefs from other departments who work on the assessment center, along with the assessment center company, said to me, this was the best candidate they've seen ever in their assessment process. And so I was really happy to hear that. And wouldn't you know, he lives in Bethel, of all places. We didn't have to go very far to find him. And so Chief Thode has a long, distinguished career in both, started out in Ridgefield and now spent most of his fire career service in city of Bridgeport, working his way up through the ranks and achieving chief in 2016, as the letter stated. And he's going to be a very welcomed addition to the Danbury Fire Department. And Chief Thode, thank you very much. And did you want to say a few words?
Yeah, I just want to thank the mayor's office, thank Chief Gord for the job he's doing as interim. I want to thank the council. I also want to just kind of apologize for any unintentional disrespect to this council. The fact that it kind of hit the papers a few days ago before this vote took place. This is the day and age of social media, and things don't stay quiet very long. So again, I want to thank you all for your encouragement and your support, and I look forward to meeting with each and every one of you and working with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Congratulations again on your appointment tonight. And
thank you, sir.
I just have to give a quick shout out to Jenny and Denny in our HR department. This was quite a process, quite a long process.
Absolutely.
And it expanded out over 8 months. And it's a big relief for them and for us that we've reached this point and have been able to successfully hire people. So Denny and Jenny, thank you very much for all your work on this as well.
All that was on. So what?
Madam Clerk, item 3, please.
Communication, donation to the police department. To the members of the city council from Patrick Ridnour, Chief of Police. Permission is requested to accept a donation of $10,000 from the Richfield and Lear Charitable Foundations Incorporated in memory of Henry J. and Erna D. Lear. The funds will be used in support of police officer health and wellness programs. Sincerely, Patrick Ridnour, Chief of Police.
What's your pleasure, counsel?
Your Honor.
Mr. Knapp.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to receive the communication from Chief of Police Ridnour and accept a generous donation from the Lear Foundation in memory of Henry J. and Erna D. Lear for $10,000 to the Danbury Police Department and send the appropriate letter of thanks.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and I think seconded by Mr. Perkins. I think that's who got it there. So under discussion on this item. Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk, item number 4, please.
Item 4, communication, Rogers Park field naming is Field 4. Dear Mayor Cavo and council members, Jerry Dennehy died unexpectedly in April of this year. Jerry, a lifelong Danbury resident, dedicated over 20 years as a member of the Danbury Youth Baseball. A coach, mentor, and board member, you could not find a more reliable volunteer. He gave of himself to the youth of the community and the Danbury Youth Baseball and never asked for anything in return. I believe the naming a field after Jerry would be a wonderful tribute to a man who gave so much to our great city. If you require any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Nicholas Kaplanis, Director of Recreation.
Okay, Madam Clerk, thank you very much. What's your pleasure, council?
Your Honor,
Mr. Henry,
thank you, Your Honor. I move to receive the communication approving the naming of Field 4 at Rogers Park after Jerry Dennehy.
Second,
motion's been made and seconded.
second.
You're a little late there, Ms. Genies. I think Mr. Santos got that one, so.
Oh, man.
Try to watch the
You
bar.
can give it to Mr. Visconti. I'll pass it on.
Thanks. So we put Santos in there as a second. Under discussion on the field name of Mr. Dennehy.
Your Honor?
Yes, Mr. Genies.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sure he did a lot of great things, but I'm not familiar with Mr. Dennehy. Can Nick give a more detailed explanation, or maybe someone else on the council who knew him in great detail, so we can better understand who he was and what he did?
Okay. Mr. Kaplanis, are you on with us here tonight?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Yes, I am. I can say that I've known Jerry for probably more than 20 years. He is a person that gave of himself to Danbury Youth Baseball Organization. It was an unfortunate, of his passing this past year. And the only thing I can tell you is that in this day and age, finding people dedicated to volunteer to any organization has become increasingly more difficult. And here, this was someone that just didn't have any issues with being down there, doing whatever needed to be done, whether it was coaching, whether it was running, being in the concession stand, picking up litter, emptying garbage cans. I mean, he did everything that you could ever ask anyone to do as part of a group. And he was a good guy. And I think it's a great tribute to us doing that.
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kaplanis. Appreciate it. Anything else on this item?
Mayor Cabo?
Mr. Tabersack, you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we have a process for something like this? I'm sure this man is a very fine person. I don't personally know him. But the thing is, there are numerous volunteers involved. Do we have a process for naming like a person to such a honor, to such an honor? Or I was just wondering how this is done.
Right. So I can tell you, Mr. Tabersack, in the past, what has happened is the baseball leagues have come to Mr. Kaplanis and made the request for naming. They did a similar thing, I think it was last year or maybe just the year before, for Tom Moose Lynch for a naming of a field down in Rogers Park as well. And they submit a letter to Mr. Kaplanis. Mr. Kaplanis submits a letter to the city council, and that's the way the process. And then we leave it up to the council to either decide if they want to do it. You could send it to an ad hoc to discuss it further if you'd like, or we can.
No. Okay. No, I was just wondering. So it's basically the organization makes a request to the department, and then it's worked on and passed through. But it originates with the organization. That's pretty much okay. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. There is some process that goes into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tabersack. I appreciate it. Okay, anybody else have anything?
Mr. Mayor, hi, it's Sharon Calitro. Hi, I just wanted to reiterate what Nick Kaplanis said. I mean, we knew Jerry personally, and our kids grew up on those fields. He gave day and night. He was down there mowing the lawns at 6 a.m. I think this is a wonderful tribute to a man who really gave a lot to Danbury Youth Baseball and the youth of Danbury.
Thank you, Ms. Cleacher. Appreciate your input on that. Anything else? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye, or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 5 is on consent. Item number 6, please.
Communication, appointment of independent auditors. To Honorable Mayor Cavo, from David St. Hilaire, Director of Finance. Once again, it is time for the city to consider the appointment of its auditors to perform the city audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. In 2016, RSM US LLP McGladrey was awarded the 5-year contract to serve as the independent auditor for the city of Danbury through an RFP process. RSM US LLP, as leaders in their respective field, provided the lowest responsible bid and have impeccable qualifications. The city will be issuing an RFP in the fall 2021 to once again award these services. Consequently, I am recommending extending the RSM US LLP contract by 1 year so that they may perform the city audit for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. RSM US LLP has done an outstanding job as the city's independent audit / accounting service firm for the past several years. As such, I respectfully request the City Council to approve the recommendation and the appointment of RSM US LLP as the city's independent auditors and accounting firm for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, as required by the city charter and state statutes. Please feel free to contact me should you require any additional information.
Thank you, President Council. Mr.
Your Honor.
Pio?
Thank you, Your Honor. I would move that we receive the communication, accept the recommendation and appointment of RSM US LLP as the city's independent auditors and accounting firm for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, as required by the city charter and state statutes.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Chianese. Under discussion of this item.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Perkins.
Thank you, Your Honor. To Mr. St. Hilaire.
Mr. St. Hilaire.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. St. Hilaire, McGladrey's one of the best in the business. Are they meeting your expectations? And if so, what might they be able to improve upon?
To answer your first question, yes, we've had a very challenging year, as you all know. And we're going to be facing a lot more challenges as we go forward. I don't know if you're aware, but the finance director has, at the Board of Ed, has taken a new position. So that's going to be an additional challenge to this upcoming audit. So we're going to have some transition there. The superintendent is also retiring. So that, the Board of Ed is a big component to the audit. And to maintain this kind of continuity is a huge plus for us at this time. And fortunately, we have their expertise and their experience that can help us guide through this. They are a great firm. They have a deep bench throughout the firm. We've been lucky that they've had the same team for the last few years. So we're going to need all of that as we navigate through this next audit. We've had an incredible amount of challenges during this past year, as I've explained that to most of you, and that challenge continues. So thankfully, RSM, if approved tonight, will continue with us.
Just one follow-up, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sandler, you actually answered my second question, which was, are we assigned a particular team? And it appears as we are. So I feel good about that because that just provides a greater level of continuity. And it's very important for what that type of organization provides. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. Appreciate that. Anything else under this item for discussion?
Mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Wait a minute, let me see. I'm going to go with Mr. Rotello first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to the Director of Finance. Mr. St. Hilaire, you mentioned the upcoming audit and the challenges that we face, and I can't even begin to imagine how murky that's going to be, how difficult it's going to be squaring what happened last year going forward. But could you just tell me when the audit will commence and how long it will take generally? Thank you.
Yeah. It's going to commence right away. We're going to be finishing up the 6/30/20 audit was submitted at the end of May. We're going to be meeting with the audit committee this over the next week or so, and we're going to be kicking off the next audit. So it's starting right away. And typically our goal is to have it completed in December. And that's if all goes well, and if everybody is fully staffed, and if we can, that means everybody in the process, and we're getting all the information timely. We hope we can achieve that, but we already have a break in that process, as we found out today, with the Director of Finance taking a new position in another district. So, but she's going to be around for a few more weeks. So hopefully we can get some, get some of the items done before she even leaves. I've already spoken to her about that. And so that's going to be part of our objective, is to knock out as much as we can before she goes. And hopefully her second can assist us. She was very instrumental in getting through this past audit. So that will help to have that kind of experience there too. But yeah, we're gonna be very busy to meet that deadline.
Challenging.
Yeah, very challenging.
Okay, you wound up answering my second question, so thank you for that. I know that the BOE has a great team. There was a bit of a dropout. I didn't quite hear you say December or this summer when the audit would be finished.
Oh no, December at the earliest. That's when we typically would have it done. But the staff disruption, it would certainly likely cause a delay in that, because they're not able to deliver requested information timely when that occurs.
And they bill on the job, or they bill if it takes longer, they bill higher? How does that work? The independent auditors that we're hiring.
Yes to both of those questions.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so they try not to bill for every little thing, because they're we try to plan it out, so we're not having people sit around idly. But if they have to come back continuously because we're not prepared for them, that's going to add up, dollars. Obviously, the thing that really tends to add the dollars is the additional GASBs and the additional grants and all these other things, which are different from year to year. And that's not something we control. Those requirements may change from year, or the size may change from year to year. So that determines the size of the audit and the number of hours that they have to put into the audit. So that's not really something they control or we control. But we all, if we're all kind of finely tuned, we can minimize that cost. And
okay. All right. Thank you, Director. Thank you, Your Honor.
Folks, if your dogs could keep your computers muted while you're not speaking, it would be really helpful. Thank you. Who's next?
Mayor, if I may. Mr. Visconti, I see your lights lit up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to include my thoughts with Mr. St. Hilaire as far as McGladrey is concerned. I've been the chairperson for the audit committee from the council for the last 6 or 7 years, along with Councilman Levy and former Councilman Phil Kern. And I have to say that Mr. St. Hilaire is correct. We've had nothing but good meetings with Scott from McGladrey and some of his staff that would come up and go over everything that was we were possibly have to go over. And if we had questions, we asked them and they were taken care of. So I definitely would like to see McGladrey continue for the city. And I understand where Mr. St. Hilaire is coming from with the news from the Board of Ed. That's going to make business a lot harder, but we'll get through with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Visconti. Anybody else have any questions on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay. Madam Clerk, item number 7, please.
Communication, water main upgrade, 56 Town Hill Avenue and Park Place. Dear Mayor Cavo and City Council members, the City of Danbury, in order to maintain critical fire flows, has to upgrade an old existing water main connection, which hydraulically connects a water main on Town Hill Avenue to Park Place. The upgrade will include brand new valves and will upsize the existing 6-inch water main to a larger 8-inch pipe. Mr. Joe De Silva, who owns 56 Town Hill Avenue, has offered to donate all of the labor associated with the water main replacement and also grant the city an easement directly associated with this upgrade. We are very grateful and express our deep appreciation to Mr. De Silva for his generous donation. The work will be performed under the City of Danbury's supervision, and the labor donation is valued at approximately $40,000. I would ask that the City Council please approve this generous donation and send a thank you note to Mr. De Silva. Sincerely, Antonio Idarola, Director of Public Works and City Engineer.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. What's your pleasure, Council? Mrs. Stanley, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to receive the communication and accept the donation of labor valued at approximately $40,000, as well as the easement associated with the upgrade of the old water main connection, and send Mr. De Silva a letter of appreciation.
Thank you. And that's seconded by, I think, Mr. Palmer.
Yes.
Under discussion,
Your Honor.
Mr. John Esposito.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to Director Idarola.
Mr. Iadarola, I know he was having some connection issues earlier. I hope he's still.
I'm here, Mr. Mayor.
He's there. Hi, Antonio.
Mr. Idarola, I just want to request some additional details in regards to this project. Where exactly is the upgrades going to start, and where are they going to stop? Are they going? I see that Mr. De Silva is granting us an easement, so I assume it's probably running across his property. Is there going to be any road, any digging in the roads or anything like that?
No, Mr. Councilman, there's only going to be, all right, sorry about that. It's an Amber Alert.
I got that too.
Yeah, we're all getting it.
Sorry about that. There's going to be just a little bit of excavating on the actual Park Avenue, Park Place, and some on Town Hill just to make the connection. And the rest of it is basically going to be done off the town's right of way. And as you know, that's a very, very steep slope between those two roads. So we have to just kind of determine the best path to make it down to the bottom. But there'll be very minimal excavating in the roads other than to connect into the mains that are out there now.
Okay, and just again, if I could follow up, it
Sure.
says replacement of valves. What valves are we talking about? Curb stops or isolation valves for that line? Or I know it says fire flow, so that means fire hydrants, or is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna have to shut down the mains on both of those roads, and at that point, we're gonna actually replace the isolation valves. It just makes sense to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So there'll be likely some interruption of service to the neighbors in the area then?
No, because believe it or not, the only thing this pipe does is it loops the two systems together. So we should be able to isolate the existing systems and have minimal disruption. The only concern we would have is notifying the fire department that we would have an impacted fire flow at the hydrants immediately adjacent to this interconnection, but that's about it.
Okay, and again, just through the chair through you. Suppose for some reason that we didn't accept the donation of the labor, who would be performing the work? We'd have to bid that work out?
Well, believe it or not, our crew has been installing water mains for quite some time. They actually just did a huge extension. So although we have the capability to do it in-house, the problem with this install is that it's literally on a 2-to-1 slope between those two roads. So we don't quite have the equipment for that, although we can rent it. Sometimes it just is more cost effective to have that work done. But Mr. De Silva was grateful enough to volunteer this work because he knows he can control it. It's on his property and it could be done, quickly.
I certainly understand that. And that's what I want to get into, the donation of the labor. I think that's, very nice of Mr. De Silva. I just want to ask, it looks like you'll be overseeing the project. So I assume we're going to be checking for licensed professionals and insurance and all those such things.
Yeah, there'll be a permit process that requires all of that. Yep. And you got to be a certified, water line installer. There's a sanitation that has to occur. All of that is done and monitored through our department. Yep.
That's very good to hear. I'm very satisfied. Thank you, Mr. Idarola.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Iadarola. Thank you, Mr. John Esposito. Any other questions on this item? See, Mr. Alves, did you have a question? Oh. Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item 8 is on consent. Item number 9, please.
Resolution, Kennedy Avenue Bridge over Still River. Dear Mayor Cobble and City Council members, the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation has reviewed the application for the above noted bridge project, and grant agreements have been received by the city for processing. It is hereby requested that the City Council authorize the mayor to sign the grant agreements for this project and any associated agreements. If you have any questions, please give me a call. Sincerely, Antonio Idarola, Director of Public Works and City Engineer.
Okay, what's the pleasure? Mr. Fox?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I move to receive the communication and adopt the resolution authorizing Mayor Joseph M. Cavo to sign the grant agreement or any other associated agreements or documents necessary to effectuate the purpose of said agreement between the state of Connecticut and the city of Danbury for Kennedy Avenue Bridge over Still River, bridge number 04176, and to execute on behalf of the city of Danbury all contracts, agreements, or amendments, and to take all actions necessary to accomplish the purposes of this funding.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mike Esposito. Under discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Ruppolo, you have the floor, sir.
through the chair to the director of our legal department, Corporation Counsel Les Pinter.
Mr. Pinter?
Yes, Councilman, I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. I recall getting interviewed on this a year or so ago. This has been before us a couple of times, I think. We're being asked tonight to sign the grant agreement, but we've pretty much already done this a couple of times in the past. Isn't that correct?
Through the mayor, Councilman Rotello, yes. These kinds of projects, by the way, funded under the local bridge program, are technical in nature, and there are several steps. The initial steps being a request, filing of a preliminary application by the city in around 2018 to the state for a commitment to fund for dollars, which the state would provide in share with the city of Danbury for the project. So that was done in 2018. The state provided a commitment to fund in 2019, subject to the filing of a supplemental bridge application, which is required by the state, and also provides an opportunity for adjustment of the cost estimates for the project. So that supplemental application was also approved by this council. That's the second council step in early 2020. And that was filed with the state. We got a letter from the state about 3 weeks ago. And the state attached its final approval of all of the processes and also attached a final grant agreement, which also amends the name of the mayor, the new Mayor Cavo, because the original applications were all under Mayor Boughton. And it also provides for a digital execution, which is also different. So the state nicely wrapped this up. We've got to get the agreement processed digitally and returned to the state for final adoption by the state. But with this approval, should the council see fit to approve the resolution tonight, you will be wrapping up that process. It's by the way, it's a lot more detailed and cumbersome than I described, but that's the best short story I can give you without boring everybody to tears.
I appreciate that, Mr. Attorney. Okay, and the thing that we're looking at tonight is not substantially different from the other things that we've already approved over the last several years.
It's not substantially different. It's conclusory, so it provides the final data. I don't think there's any additional adjustments that will be made subsequently, but it's effectively the same information as you had approved before.
Okie doke. All right. Thank you, Mr. Pinner. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Mr.
Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to follow up with Attorney Penter regarding Kenny Ave Bridge. Les, I was able to look at the information, and thanks for getting that over to us. Regarding the supplemental grant application, that may call for additional funding on the state's behalf. Is that true, through the chair?
Through the chair, yes, Councilman Perkins, the state indicates in the updated agreement that it will provide such supplemental funding based upon dollars that are available to the state for additional costs above what the supplemental application indicated.
Follow up, and we would not be required to pay that back. Is that true?
We don't have to pay any money back unless there's a default under the agreement.
Okay. And I just want to just piggyback on something Councilman Rotello said. I don't read a lot of these. I know you do, but it just seemed a little heavy with conditions, audits, insurance, indemnification, defaults. Is that standard language in a contract like this since the state's given us money to do the work? Is that typical language?
Through the chair, it is typical, Councilman Perkins, and frankly, we've wrestled with the state over the years and even decades to try to get them to adjust language. But, you know, they have a legal department like we do. Of course, it's a lot bigger than ours, but their legal department is very careful in the way they draft the documents, and they like to have language that's very identical and consistent with previous language. So the language that you see in there that seems somewhat one-sided is not so much one-sided, but it's the state's language that it needs to protect its interests, and our interests, while important to them, are less important than theirs. So yes, the answer is that language is pretty strong, but it's the way the state requires it.
Thank you, Les. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You're welcome, Mr. Perkins. Thank you, Mr. Pinter. Any other questions on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, looks like the motion carries unanimously. Item number 10, Madam Clerk.
Resolution, Connecticut Department of Housing Emergency Shelter Grant. To Honorable Mayor Joseph Cavo and honorable members of the City Council. The State of Connecticut Department of Housing, which is the DOH, has notified the City of Danbury Department of Health and Human Services that there has been an amendment to the existing contract for the emergency shelter grant and continued funding in an amount not to exceed $138,264 has been approved. The DOH stipulates that these funds are to be used to support shelter staff, operational expenses, food, transportation, and cleaning products needed for the daily operations and upkeep of the City of Danbury's emergency shelter until June 30th, 2023. Respectfully, Cara Marie Prunty, Acting Director of Health and Human Services.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. With your pleasure, Council.
Your Honor.
Mr. DiGiulio.
Thank you, Your Honor. I wish to receive the communication and adopt the resolution authorizing Joseph M. Cavo, Mayor of the City of Danbury, or Cara M. Prunty, Acting Director of Health as his designee, to apply for and accept said funds related to the State of Connecticut Department of Housing Emergency Shelter Grant Amendment in the amount of $138,264 to fund emergency shelter operational expenses for 2 additional years through June 30th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded by Mr. Chianese. Under discussion.
Your Honor.
Okay.
Chianese, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. I spoke to the health director on this about a couple of days ago. And so my question is really going to be to David. But during our conversation is that the money will be used for funds and expenses related to the old Super 8 motel, as that is currently our designated emergency shelter. So my question is really to either Cara or to David, is regarding the $138,000, how does that, because I have the budget that's in front of me for 2022, how does that impact that budget? I don't see any salaries for grant reimbursements at zero. So how does this grant impact the budget? Or does it at all?
Mr. St. Hilaire?
Yeah, I wouldn't refer to that budget because those numbers, the budget number is really based on a typical budget. We've seen everything but typical when it comes to the Super 8. We're using part-timers that a lot of part-timers that we never had. So really there is a new benchmark when it comes to the homeless shelter. It's nothing like it was when it was at the old place. So, this money will be used. If you recall, we went through a transition on the school-based health center. It's not unlike this. On the school-based health center, we received grant money that we then turned over to CIFC, and then eventually they became the direct recipient. But that took a period of time. We expect that this will be something similar. But this is a little bit more complex than that. But as far as the money is concerned, we don't know. There's not a clear cutover here. It's going to take some time. And then when they do cut over, if there's any money left over, then that money will be directed over to the Super 8, to the Super 8. Pacific House, that's what I'm referring to. So anyways, that's really what we're talking about here, Ben, Councilman Chianese. So that baseline that you're seeing in the budget is just that. It's just a historical baseline.
Okay, I'm just gonna follow up because I'm totally confused. So the 138,000, once we receive, would be a pass through to Pacific House?
No, we're gonna use what we need to use. Whatever is remaining, when everything is done, will then be transferred over to Pacific House. But we're still operating. And we'll use whatever we have to use. And then at such time when the transition is finished, chances are there'll still be money left over. It'll transition to the Pacific House. And then in the future, they'll likely get the grant directly. That was my point. I'm sorry, I really did not make that clear.
If I could, Mr. St. Hilaire, Mr. Cheney's, we have a commitment from DOH that when the shelter is fully transitioned over, the grant that they normally would give to us is going to eventually directly go from the state to Pacific House for the operation of the shelter. We won't be involved in it anymore at that point. But while we're still in a hybrid model with them, they're sending us the grant money to use through CARES department. And then eventually when it morphs over, the grant will probably go just directly to them. That was part of our original discussions with them.
I understand again through the chairs. So as we receive the dollar and spend the dollar, that will be applied to the budget, so to speak, to offset an expense.
Yes.
Okay. Whether it's the full 138,000 or not, so this is not new expenses. It's to pay existing expenses that we budgeted for.
Right.
Okay. That's what I need to know. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Mr. Tabersack, I think you have your hand up.
Yes, I asked Kara, I called Kara and got some information too. From what I understand, we are paying for about 20 part-time Danbury employees at the shelter, and that Pacific House is picking up some money, and then there are other agencies and all that are providing the food and so forth, and some other things are coming out, like for the suppers, I guess, from a grant that goes with COVID. Am I right on all this? So it's sort of a patchwork thing, but most of the money really that divided over 2 years, I guess she said it was 69 and 69.
Yeah.
It was basically going to salaries.
Yes, you're correct. I'm only catching about half of what you're saying, Councilman. But there is a mix. There is a collection of funding sources from different areas, and this is primarily for salaries. If I caught what you were saying.
Okay, and I guess I want to ask Carol instead of asking her later. How many right now are people in the shelter using services?
Mrs. Prunty?
Hi, Councilman. Hi, everyone. Right now, currently, we have 65 individuals at the Super 8, and we have housed about 105.
Okay, I like that second number. All right, thank you.
Yes, and you are correct. This money would be primarily to fund those part-time salaries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All set?
Yes, I'm set.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Prunty. All right, any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 11, please.
Resolution Watershed Management Study at Danbury High School. Dear Mayor and Council, I hereby request your consideration and approval to donate city employee labor hours as expert knowledge toward developing a unit of study on watershed management at the Danbury High School. In return, high school students will summer intern in Danbury departments performing job tasks related to the watershed industry. This stewardship program will be part of a partnership agreement funded by a state grant between Western Connecticut State University and the City of Danbury, with participation from stakeholders such as Danbury Board of Education, First Light Power, and Connecticut Inland Fisheries. The grant will fund the student summer internship, student supervision, and management. It is anticipated that the Danbury Department employees will provide 8 to 10 labor hours total per year for a 3-year term in meetings and classroom presentation to provide expert knowledge to help Danbury teachers and Danbury teachers develop and implement the unit of study. Additionally, I will sit on the grant steering committee and attend monthly meetings. Ultimately, the goal is to introduce these students to the science and then to the practical job opportunities in our watershed industry. Some of these job opportunities include engineers and operators that design and maintain our storm water system, operators and mechanics that operate and maintain our water treatment and distribution systems, as well as health department inspectors and right-of-way compliance inspectors, to name a few. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Timothy P. Nolan, Superintendent of Public Service.
Hey, thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Levy, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you, Your Honor. I make a motion to adopt the attached resolution and authorize the Public Works Department to partner with Western Connecticut State University in a program, Finding Our Way, and authorize Joseph Cavo, Mayor, Timothy Nolan, Superintendent of Public Services, or their designee, to execute all documents to effectuate this program.
Second.
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 Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Rotello. Under discussion,
Your Honor,
Mr. Rotello, sir.
I think, number one, this is a great idea. You know, Danbury has sort of a unique spot in Connecticut, kind of old school here, where not only is all of our water collected within our own borders, which is pretty unusual for a city this size, but we still control it. Its release, however, does affect the rest of the state. It goes into the Still River, the Housatonic, and winds up in Long Island Sound. Many years ago, my dad was on a Long Island Sound committee that tried to, bring the sound back. It's come a long way. There's oysters there that you can eat, and you can fish and eat the fish and things like that. But anything that teaches respect for the waters inside Danbury, the importance of having our own supply and controlling it ourselves, and being a good steward for the rest of the state is of critical importance in my book. And I'm fully in support of it. It wouldn't have even occurred to me to start a program like this. I'll be watching it with great interest. And I'd like to thank the department and the people who thought this up, who came up with this, and the people that are volunteering for this, for bringing it to our attention and making it happen. It's just a great idea. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Rotello. Anything else on this item? If I could diverge for just a moment, this morning I heard on a radio program that it used to take between 57 and 85 gallons of water to make one hat here in Danbury back in the day. I thought that was pretty interesting. A little interesting fact. Okay, seeing nothing else on this item, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 12, please.
Resolution NRWIB Youth Employment to Honorable Cavo through the council from David St. Hilaire, Director of Finance. Attached for your review is a resolution that will allow the city of Danbury to apply for and accept funding through the Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board, which is the NRWIB. This funding is available to municipalities from the state of Connecticut Department of Labor and is passed to agencies coordinating employment for area youth. The mayor's office requests once again to continue to work with Danbury Youth Services to facilitate this program. A funding request in the amount not to exceed $96,100 will be submitted to NRWIB to fund a youth employment program from 7/1/21 through 6/30/22. The city council is respectfully requested to consider this resolution at its next meeting.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Caversack. Under discussion on this item,
Your Honor.
Mr. Mike Esposito.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to receive the correspondence and adopt the resolution from the city of Danbury.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We all set? To apply for and accept funding in the amount not to exceed $96,100 for the Northwest Regional Workshop for the Connecticut Youth Employment Program 2021 and 2022, beginning on July 5th, 2021, and ending on June 15th, 2022.
Second.
Want to second that, Mr. Eversek? Want to second that? Okay.
Yes, I did. Could I comment when anybody, when it's time?
We got Mr. Eversek as a second. Okay, under discussion on this item.
Yes.
Mr. Eversek.
Okay, Danbury's had programs like this through, through almost every summer and all. And it's just something that's necessary and required and really helps the community and helps develop the right attitudes towards the community among the youngsters. And I just wish more money was available for programs like this, to be honest with you. But to me, this is just a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eversek. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or give me a thumbs up.
Aye.
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 Anybody abstaining? Anybody voting no? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, item number 13 was removed from consent. And so if you would read item 13, please.
Okay. Speed and aggressive driving enforcement grant to Honorable Joseph M. Camo through the City Council. Attached for your review is a resolution that will allow the City of Danbury Police Department to apply for and accept funding from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for the 2021 Speed and Aggressive Driving Enforcement Campaign. The police department has been notified of available funding for enforcement operations from July 1, 21 through September 6, 21. The projected cost of this program will not exceed $50,000, and the state will cover 100% of these costs. The City Council's respectfully requested to consider this resolution at its next meeting, and it's from Chief P. Ridenour.
Your Honor.
What's your pleasure, Council?
Your Honor. Thank you. I move to receive the communication, adopt this resolution authorizing Mayor Joseph M. Cavo or Police Chief Patrick Ridenour as a designee to accept the grant funds in the amount not to exceed $50,000 from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation Highway Safety Office's 2021 Speed and Aggressive Driving Enforcement Program with an anticipated project period of July 1st, 2021, running through September 6th, 2021, as presented.
Second. Motion's been made. It looks like it was seconded by Mr. Mike Esposito. Under discussion.
Your Honor.
Mr. Chianese.
Thank you, Your Honor. Again, through the chair to Chief Ridenour. Again, this is a great program and I think it'll do very well within our city. But since there was a question from a constituent during the public session regarding East Haystown Road, so I just want to have the chief opine whether or not part of this grant could be used to offset some of his concerns.
Thank you, Councilman. What we normally do, and Mr. Brown is correct, and as you know, we've received other requests from the council with regard to doing speed studies. Our traffic division does that, and then we would assign personnel accordingly to do enforcement. So certainly we can do East Haystown and see if speeding is a problem. We can do the speed study. That usually takes about a week or so. And if it is a problem, then yes, this money could be used towards some enforcement over there.
Okay, great, fantastic. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, Mr. Visconti. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. To Chief Ridenour. If there's anything that we can help you with regarding this item, please let us know, because this is an important item. And I can tell you from where we live on the south end, it gets worse and worse day and night. And the speeding, the motorcycles doing wheelies, and all kinds of crazy things. So we look forward to seeing that yourself and the staff get some work done out there like you have been. And and get rid of these problems as soon as possible. And I know you'll be doing it throughout the entire city. So thank you once again, and good luck in getting things done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Conti. Thanks, Chief Renner. Any other questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Ellis.
Thank you, sir. Through you to the chief, and just to, compound how everybody's saying here, I've been hearing this over and over that throughout the city, it's just one of the concerns everybody's having is the speeding. And I know you guys have done traffic study of work with you and Sergeant LaRocco in the past for others. Is there something you can provide to us on maybe the last year or 2 years of your speed tests or the reports you've had throughout the city to share? Because listen, everybody feels like it's an issue in their own backyard. But I think there is a pattern here. I think there's a pattern of lack of respect for traffic laws in the city. And if the small $50,000, help from, outside of Danbury helps, what is it that's stopping us from making this even a bigger campaign throughout the summer and continuous, right? Is it more money from the city? Do you need more officers to help? What can the city do to help your department further enforce these traffic laws, Chief?
Well, we do a lot of traffic enforcement, and one of the issues that we have had is that when we do the speed studies, that the numbers just don't bear out. I mean, there's some cases that it does, but sometimes, and I understand our perception is our reality, and sometimes we think someone's going 50 miles an hour when actually they're going 27. And but our eyes deceive us. I understand that. So what we try to do is when there are areas that need the enforcement, we assign our personnel to do so.
All right. Like I said, I see that, $50,000 helps and goes a long way. We're excited about that. So if it's a money thing, I was just curious if more money for your department would help us continue to do that or, do it even more effectively.
Sure. No, I mean, every little bit helps. And, I'm not so sure it's a money thing at this point. I mean, you do also realize that, in some cases we're not allowed to pursue anyone. So we try to find other means to identify the violators and then show up at their house and issue a ticket later. So we do try to do as much enforcement as we possibly can. We do recognize that sometimes there's some recklessness out there. We do recognize, especially with the stolen vehicles, that there's some issues there. But we are very, very limited in the circumstances under which we could actually chase them down without creating a higher risk to public safety.
Thank you, Chief. Any further questions, I can reach out to you offline. You and your department have always been very available. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks, Mr. Helms. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Madam Clerk, 14 and 15 are on consent. Item number 16. What's your pleasure? on number 16, Council?
Ad hoc report, J. Earl Associates, the airport lease.
Mr. DiGilio, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to make a motion to waive the reading of the report as we all have copies and copies are on file.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any objection on waiving the reading of the minutes? So it is so ordered. All right. Now back to the original item, ad hoc report. What's your pleasure, Council?
Your Honor.
Mr. Fox?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I move to receive the report of the ad hoc committee and to adopt the committee's recommendation to amend the lease between the City of Danbury and J. Earl Associates to include 2 additional 5-year extension options to February 3rd, 2043.
Okay, motion's been made and
Second.
seconded by, who seconded that?
Vinny.
Mr. DiGilio. Okay, under discussion of this item. Seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, motion carries unanimously. Item number 17 are departmental reports. Mr. President.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion now that we, in 2 parts, 1, waive the reading of the minutes of the reports as we all have copies and copies are on file, and accept the reports as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded by Mr. Perkins. All those in favor of waiving the reading of the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Any abstention? Okay, under the department reports, any comments, questions, concerns?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Knapp, and then Mr. John Esposito.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to Nick Kaplanis.
Yep, Mr. Kaplanis.
The Parks.
I am
Is he
here. Yes,
All
I am.
right. Thanks,
Mr.
Nick.
Kaplanis.
So just a quick question. I know I drive by the Danbury Town Park every day. At some point in the day, across the causeway, I noticed the piles of sands are out there for the beach. Usually the park is open by Memorial Day. Obviously, last year we didn't because of COVID, and I'm sure COVID may play a part in it this year, but I've been fielding questions about the park. And I'm not sure what the other parks, with Highland Avenue and Rogers Park and Kenosha, what the status is of the park. So can you just, for the sake of the people that have been calling around, bring us up to speed as to when they'll be open?
Sure. Well, first, I'm happy to report that we did have what I'll call a soft opening this past weekend. Traditionally, we always open on Memorial Weekend on Saturday. I know the weather was god awful the whole weekend, but we did open for a few hours on Saturday. We had some lifeguard rentals that came in and helped get the park ready, to open officially. Sunday was a washout. On Monday, we did spend the whole day there, and we started to put out the lines, the swim area lines and the buoys, cleaned up a bunch of stuff. So I expect this weekend we will open. The hours will still be somewhat limited. We'll go 12 to 6, and we should be able to remain open from there throughout the rest of the summer.
Thank you.
Spray Park officially opened on Monday, and things are going well. That's the Rogers Park. We have 2 other spray parks that will open June 19th. So we'll have all 3 in operation by then.
Thank you, Nick.
And believe it or not, there were kids swimming in the town park on
Oh,
Saturday.
baby, that's cold water.
And it was 50 degrees out, and that water was not even 50 degrees, right, Mr. Kaplanis?
It was not pleasant.
Mr.
I
Mayor.
was there most of the day, and I was dressed up, and I was cold.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Thank you, Mr. Kaplanis. Mr. Perkins.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Follow up to Mr. Compliance. So I heard you mention lifeguard rentals. Does that mean we're hiring individuals from another municipality? Is that what that means?
I'm sorry you broke up there at the end.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Lifeguard rentals. And
Yeah. I mean, what does that mean? Does it mean we're hiring workers from another municipality?
Let
Mr.
me
Perkins,
give
he's
you
asking-
a quick
He's
a
asking
quick
for a
rundown.
lifeguard from another municipality. So what happened, Mr.
Yes.
Perkins? We have
We
lifeguards coming out of a certification class at the moment. I think they get their certifications on the 5th of June, but there's a program over in Newtown where they train lifeguards. And so the city was able to hire lifeguards through that program to come and open the park for Memorial Day weekend. And then by next weekend, our group should be graduating from the lifeguard class, and then they will be our lifeguards throughout the summer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the
That's
explanation.
correct.
Okay, no problem. Okay, anything else under department reports?
Mr. Mayor?
Your Honor.
Yes, Mr. Esposito, you were next. I'm sorry. I
That's
forgot to.
okay. Quite all right. Thank you. Actually, Councilman Knapp asked the question I was going to about the operation of the parks this season. But additionally, I would just like to extend my personal thanks to Chief Rittenauer and the police department for responding to some noise complaints in the neighborhoods over the last few days. So thanks very much. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Esposito. Mr. Rotella.
Thank you, Your Honor. Through you to the Chief of Police, Chief Rittenauer. Chief, looking at the uniform crime report, again, we're seeing a decline in crime overall, but there are a couple of things that are bumping up, including motor vehicle thefts. I don't want to get too dramatic here. I mean, in January and February, they were flat, but they did bump up about 30% in March and April. You know, we've known for a long time that these are generally crimes of opportunity. In the 1950s, joyriding, 60s, it might have been selling the cars. In the 70s and 80s, they might have been parting them out. Things seemed to calm down in the 90s and 00s when the technology made it a little bit tougher to steal cars. But I mean, what's behind this? We're seeing it not just in Danbury. I don't want to point any fingers. It's all over the country. I mean, is it just youthful exuberance and joyriding, or is there a profit motive behind this? Are people selling the vehicles? Are they cutting them up like they were 20 and 30 years ago? Or is this just people leave their keys in the car and some kid takes it for a spin and that's that? I mean, is it that really that simple, or is there something else going on? Thank you.
It's a combination of both. You know, that there are some that are doing it just for fun, and then there are others that are doing it for the money. They usually end up in various locations within the state once they're taken, and you know, there's really nothing else to it. But they are, exactly as you said, they're crimes of opportunity. It's not a lot of damage being done to vehicles when they're being taken. People are leaving keys in the car, they're leaving the cars unlocked, leaving key fobs in the console. So it's just that easy, and that's what makes it so difficult to stop. Because, you know, as I've said before to people, I could put an officer on every corner, but if you walk by that officer and say hello, and then walk to the nearest car and open the door and get in and start it and drive off, we're none the wiser, nor can we. So we have to target harden, and by locking the doors and creating that situation where the officer or any witnesses in the area can start to be suspicious when someone starts pulling handles on several cars and can't get inside any of them.
Yeah, understood. I'm just thinking that there's a pretty substantial difference between taking a car out for a spin and selling it. You know, there's a market for it. There's usually an organization behind it. There's a system of fences and things like that, which that ratchets it up the enforcement level. You're not just dealing with a 17-year-old kid who's not going to get a license for a couple of years and knows his old man will never let him drive until then. It's a little bit different when there are groups of organized people from New York, Boston, whatever. I don't want to point any fingers in those states, but clearly, you know, shipping them out of state, shipping them out of the country, that's a little tougher to get a handle on for a police department the size of Danbury. So we are seeing that, though.
Yes, well, there's a method to this. We are working with our state and federal partners to try to address this in a comprehensive manner. The state legislature, I know that they're proposing legislation to to create stiffer penalties for those that are using juveniles to do these types of things. So it's trying to be addressed at a variety of different levels, so that we can get a handle on this. Because it's granted, people have insurance, but that's their property, and no one has a right to take their property, even if the windows are down and the keys are there. So
yeah, you know, it's a huge disruption. You lose a day of work. I mean, the baby doesn't get to the doctor. It's just an awful thing. Look, there's a lot of stuff that's worse than that. But on a day-to-day thing, if you're going to bump into that, it's really going to put a really a big dent in your life. All right, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rotella. We appreciate it. Thanks, Chief Ridenour. Anything else, Mr. Perkins?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a couple general statements. I mean, we could always use more speed control. We do have plenty. I see it all the time. I can't tell you how many times officers have had me going 25 and a 25, and that's on my bicycle. So there's a lot of speed control out there. Just a general statement to Mr. Iadarola. I went up and over Long Ridge the other day. Looking nice out there. I was also surprised about one of the roads that goes off of the end of it. That was a pleasant surprise as well. Grant Street's coming along. So, really happy with the progress that is going on throughout the different parts of the city. You know, it's always going to be playing catch up with the road conditions, but that's something that I want to talk to you offline before we start pursuing other matters. Thanks for all your service.
Thanks, Mr. Perkins.
Your
Your
Honor,
Honor, Your Honor, if I may.
Mike Esposito? Oh, Mr. Visconti, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. I just want to back up what Councilman Perkins just said. Long Ridge Road looks really great. People up there are very happy. I've had several phone calls from them. And Grand Street is coming along. And I know that the other streets that are on his list will get done in the right way. So I just want to continue to thank Mr. Iadarola and his staff, Tom Hughes and Tim Nolan, those people. They all do a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Visconti. Mr. Esposito, Mike Esposito, did you have something?
yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to give a shout out to our Director of Veterans Affairs and our Council of Veterans for this past weekend. They put on a very good program down at the Rose Garden. Our members of the World War II are dwindling, and it was very apparent with the long list of names that our members have passed since last Memorial Day. But they did an excellent job, our Veterans of Council and our Director of Veterans Affairs. I'd like to give them a shout out and job well done.
No, I agree, Mr. Esposito. Good words. Thank you very much. Anything else under Department of Works? Mr. Salvatore?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just wanted to ask a question. I've had quite a few constituents ask when City Hall opened today, if I remember correctly, right? They're asking when the city council is going to come back into session. And I know we were allowed to do these. I don't remember whether it's 7B or 7I, but could you explain the status of the council chamber renovations and when the council can expect to come back together in person?
Sure. Thanks, Mr. Salvatore. I had a discussion with Mr. Hanley the other day, and it's looking like the renovations will be completed in the chambers by August or before August. So depending on COVID numbers, we should be able to get back into the chambers, I would think, by August. That's our goal right now. There was some rebidding that had to happen on the original project plans, but he assures me that we're set to go. There's going to be some construction work starting in there very soon, and hopefully will be done sometime late July. So I'm thinking we'll be back in there by August.
Just to follow up to that, Mr. Mayor, I believe 7B or 7I, if those were the two, one of the two that extended the ability to do Zoom, ends June 30th. Is there a plan for that?
Yeah, so we're gonna talk with Mr. Pinter and ask him that question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councilman Salvatore, I think you could also throw 9H in there. These allow the continuation of the remote meetings, call them Zoom meetings. I don't want to give that company a plug, but that's what we've been doing. It also allows for hybrid meetings, which have been used in other places, depending upon two things, depending upon one, technology, and number two, on what the health director's feeling is about doing meetings other than remote meetings. So yeah, June 30th appears to be the date by which some of these expire. There are others expire at the end of July, but I think you're right about the June 30th date. So far, we do expect some issuances as we get closer to that date. We don't believe the governor wants to foreclose the option of communities that feel that they want to continue in a remote basis from doing so. We don't think that the governor wants to prohibit that. But so we're waiting for issuances with respect to that. So anyway, short answer to your question is that at present, the executive orders continue to allow remote meetings. They allow hybrid meetings. And on June 30th, certainly by the end of July, we expect the governor to issue some possible modifications.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Salvatore.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Palmer had his hand up. Mr. Palmer?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. To you, to our Chief Police. For the past 2 or 3 weeks, I have a lot of complaints from constituents about many scooters going up and down many streets and riding very, very fast without license plates. Is there anything that we can do about this?
we have had those complaints, and we've been trying to address them as best as possible. As you know, obviously, as I mentioned before, pursuing them is not an option for us because of the increased risk to public safety. However, we have had some success with people dropping their identification, and you know, if we're able to identify, if we can get calls from neighbors to say where the operators live, we can go to those addresses and issue tickets that way.
Is any other information that people can provide to you that can be easy to contact these people?
The best way is for them to call us if they, especially if they know who's doing it. First of all, they should call when it's happening. And second, they should call us if they know who's doing it. They can either call our communication center at the regular routine calls line, or they can call our tips line. And if we have a way of following up and identifying who's doing it, we can issue the tickets, and in some cases even take the scooters from them.
To follow up, these scooters need license plates, or they don't need license plates?
It depends on the size of the engine. I believe if it's under 50 cc's, I'm not sure. I don't believe it does, but I would follow up with our traffic division on that. If you want to send me an email, Councilman, I will follow up on that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Mr. Palmer. Mr. Molinaro.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, when we do go back to council chambers, will vaccinations be required?
So when we get close to heading back to in-person meetings, Mr. Molinaro, we'll have a discussion with our health director and our director of personnel, HR, and we'll have a game plan set up for what we're going to do about people coming into the chambers, whether they're vaccinated or not. Again, this whole thing has been like trying to predict the weather. You've probably heard me say that publicly. We don't know, we sense the trend that we're trending downward, but we don't know if it's going to stay that way, if it's going to spike back up. It changes. It's been changing on a fairly regular basis. Nothing's been consistent about it. So we'll evaluate that when we get to that time. But right now, I know the council chambers can't meet the requirement of separation of distance because we all almost touch shoulder to shoulder up on the dais. And so that has to change. And so we'll do that first, and then, we'll deal with the public coming into those meetings. We'll take guidance from our State Department of Health. We'll take guidance from our local Department of Health, and we'll proceed from there. But certainly we'll stay in touch with you and keep you abreast of the situation as we progress towards going back together.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Molinaro.
Your Honor, if I may.
Mr. Visconti again.
Thank you. Very quickly, I tend to agree with Councilman Molinaro and yourself. I think it's most important that we meet with the health director and yourself and whoever else and get the right qualification as to what we can do or we can't do getting back into a regular meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Visconti. Mr. Hayes, did you have a comment off of what Mr. Esposito said?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Mike for that, and I wanted to thank everyone that showed up. It meant a lot. As you saw by the and heard, we lost a lot of veterans and this year, and I just wanted to thank Janice and the town clerk office, how much help they've given me and the families when paperwork is not able to be found and to get the funerals moving ahead. They work really hard over there. I just wanted to give them a little shout out also.
Okay. Thanks, Danny. Appreciate all your work on behalf of our veterans. I was also taken back by the number of Vietnam veterans that were on the list on Monday. It was just shocking to see how many Vietnam vets. But
lost another one last night.
Thank you, everybody, for participating yesterday. And
thank you.
It was a great turnout, and Danbury was shown proud throughout the region for our work yesterday on that. So thanks very much to everybody. Anything else under department reports? Okay, seeing none, I'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody abstaining? Okay, so before I entertain a motion to adjourn, I am going to reappoint an ad hoc committee that was formed back in August of 2016. I believe it was item number 4 on the August 2016 agenda relating to ATVs and dirt bikes on city streets. The committee had not met because we were gathering data on ordinances. But I'd like to reappoint that committee today. It's going to be Mr. Fox in the chair, Ms. Camisa, and Mr. Perkins on that committee, as well as a representative from the mayor's office, corporation counsel, the chief of police, and a representative from the unit. And other than that, I will extend all other committees, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Made by Mr. Rotello, seconded by,
Second.
second by Mr. Palmer. And any discussion on adjournment? I'll try your minds. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Night, everyone.
Anybody abstaining? Everybody, thank you very much. Have a great month of June, and we'll see you in July if we don't see you before then. Bye-bye.
Okay, everyone take care.